Authoritarian strongmen are genuine cowards. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide you with context in the war in Ukraine, and these are three big stories for today. Now, I've been talking about Syria quite a bit, and because Syria is, what's happened there has been crippling to Russia's ability to project force around the world, so it really matters. But here, I just want to look at the character of Assad. This is from Reuters. Bashar al-Assad secretly fled to Moscow, abandoning relatives and officials. The collapse of Assad's regime took even his inner circle by surprise. Right? So they didn't know that he was about to flee. He's telling them, look, we're gonna have help. The Syrian dictator informed almost no one of his plans to leave the country, abandoning aides, officials, and even close family members. What a coward. Just hours before his escape, Assad held a meeting with around 30 senior military and security officers at the Ministry of Defense building. During the meeting, he assured them that Russia had already dispatched military aid and urged the troops to hold their positions. None of those present suspected that Assad himself was already preparing to flee. That's what I mean. There's a profile of a bully, of a authoritarian, that a strongman. Why do we even call them strongmen? They're not strong men. They're weak men pretending to be strong or willing to be evil in order to have that image. Okay, here is Assad talking. This was back in 2012. Let's go through this. To flee the country? Who runs? A person who has been given money, so he is corrupt and bribed. He has his reasons. Or a cowardly person, threatened by terrorists or other parties. Or, as you say, he did not have hope for a bright future. So he was afraid of his future, so he fled abroad. Or a person who has ambition, he believes he should have achieved certain achievements or certain advantages or certain ranks, but he did not achieve them. So he decided to run away for this reason. In particular, and of course there are other reasons, who runs away practically, either weak or bad, a good and patriotic person does not run away. So a good and patriotic person does not run away. But he did such evil to his people that he knew that running away was his best option. Okay, Russia has reportedly, this is according to the Institute for the Study of War, Russia has reportedly reached an agreement with select elements of the Syrian opposition about control over Russian military bases in Syria, but it remains unclear if the alleged agreement ensures the security of Russia's bases in Syria in the long term. That was 2 days ago. Then we see this. Russia is scrambling to save face after its humiliating loss of Assad. The Kremlin admits keeping its Syrian bases will take time and delicate negotiations with groups it was calling T just days ago. So here's the headline: Assad's fall humiliated Putin and could dent his global ambitions. It certainly has. There's no question about that. Okay, and then we see this. This is from Tender. Military analysts in the German Defense Ministry assess that Russian forces in the bases of Tartus and Latika are preparing their complete withdrawal. Security guarantees are only limited to peaceful withdrawal. And if you looked on social media right now, you'd see many images of Russian military vehicles fleeing. Okay, trouble in the colonies. RT is reporting that Russia suspends grain shipments to Syria, citing government uncertainty and payment issues. Wait a minute. So you're abandoning the Syrians? Yeah, they're abandoning the Syrians. Now, Ryan Macbeth was talking about the new Syrian flag, and I want to use that as a jumping off point to say one more thing. So let's hear what he has to say.
Syria has a new flag. Syria has had a number of flags over the years. But you may have noticed it was recently changed from this flag to this flag. In fact, this new Syrian flag was recently raised in Moscow, meaning that Moscow's newest resident, Bashar al-Assad, has to look at the thing every day. But what does this new flag mean? Well, I'm not CGP Grey here, but let me give it a shot. Green is the favorite color of the Prophet Muhammad, and it's often associated with his cousin Ali. White represents the Umayyad Caliphate. This lasted from the mid-600s to the year 750 or so, and the Islamic world was the center of math, science, astronomy, medicine. If you were playing Civilization, that would be Islam's golden age. Black in Islam has often been associated with revolt or engagement in battle. The 3 stars represent the 3 Syrian districts of Damascus, Aleppo, and Deir ez-Zor. This was also the flag of the Free Syrian Army. And since it seems like this dude is cool with this instead of this, that may mean the rebels are looking to unite instead of divide. Inshallah.
Okay, so because they're going for that flag instead of the Islamic flag, that's a really good sign. And I think it's a good sign that the rebel factions are going to be able to work together, and that's very different. It takes a bigger man to actually work with others than to be a strong man who's actually a coward. Okay, let's turn our attention to big story number 2, Georgia. So this is the potential new Georgian president. Georgia's incumbent president, Salome Zurashvili, remains defiant. Quote, "I am protected by the people who are out in the streets," she says. And if we look at the article here, this is in Radio Free Europe, she says, "There will be no inauguration and my mandate continues," unquote. She says on November 30th. Now, again, it's December 13th. The actual election for president is tomorrow, December 14th. And she said, well, the article said this: "At the heart of the standoff is a dispute over the country's recent parliamentary elections. International observers and the opposition cried foul, saying the result was flawed with widespread irregularities and ballot fraud. The president has said that the elections were stolen." I think we kind of all agree that the elections were stolen. And they were stolen with the help of Russia. And so they see the Electoral College as illegitimate. Now, the current president is the last Georgian president to be voted directly by the people. In 2017, Georgia adopted a new system of indirect presidential elections as part of constitutional changes that were supposed to be aimed at strengthening parliamentary democracy, reducing political polarization, and aligning with European norms where presidents are usually ceremonial. The critics of the reform say that it's a power grab by the Georgian Dream. Now, the Georgian Dream Party has been power grabbing a lot of things. So this vote tomorrow, the vote is expected to begin at 9 a.m. local time, December 14th. With the results announced that day. While there are members of the opposition in the Electoral College, they're refusing to take part. And since there's only one candidate, or one real candidate, there's some really small other candidates, there is no possibility of a second round, or no likelihood that that's going to happen. Ruling Georgian Dream Party has nominated Mikhail Kavalishvili, a former footballer and co-founder of People's Power, as their candidate for presidency. Given the composition of the Electoral College, where the Georgia Dream holds a majority, there's an expectation that Kavalishvili would be elected. Now, there are other candidates, but they're all very small, and so there's no real contest here. Kavalishvili is probably going to run away with it. Okay, I saw another article here, sanctions. It's only a matter of time before the EU, individual countries, and the U.S. impose sanctions, not just on Georgia officials attacking democracy and protesters, but also on business figures financing and sustaining Georgian Dream and the Russian grip on power. Ben Hodges said, "How the blank has this not already been done?" Right, they should have been taking this action a long time ago. So in the United States, Senator Jeanne Shaheen has been on the floor of the Senate saying, "I'm frustrated. The Georgia Dream government has paid no price for its actions, and it defies the will of the people, and it takes a page from Putin's authoritarian playbook. It's time the administration sanctioned those responsible for the violence and human rights abuses." And again, these strongmen are twisting the system. They're not interested in a fair fight electorally. They're stuffing the ballot boxes, and now their presidential candidate's just going to waltz right into the presidency. So let's switch gears and look at American politics. The real Donald Trump team is considering a number of options to prevent Iran from developing its nuclear program, including preemptive strikes, according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, Trump is no fan of Iran, Syria, North Korea, or China, essentially all of Putin's pals. Sources in the Trump team say that Iran's weakening position in the region and recent revelations of Tehran's growing nuclear development have given impetus to sensitive internal discussions. However, all discussions on the issues are still in the early stages, according to these sources, so we'll keep an eye on what's going on there. Meanwhile, the U.S. has announced an additional $500 million in military aid for Ukraine, including HIMARS ammunition, artillery shells, drones, armored vehicles, chemical nuclear protection gear. So, if you're paying attention here, in the last week, 2 weeks, we saw about 900, almost $1 billion in one package, another 250 or so in another package, and another 500 million in this package. So we've wound down about a little less than 2 billion of the 5 to 6 billion that remain. So my guess is it'll trickle out over the next 40 days or so of the Biden administration in increments of 500 million here, another 250 million there, until they spend the entire 60 billion allocated by Congress. Meanwhile, we have a very weird story here. Mysterious drones are flying over the Ramstein Air Base and German industrial sites. They spark security concerns. Now, NATO is warning of potential Russian intelligence activities. Investigations are underway. Unidentified UAVs raise tension across European military installations. And it's not just there. We saw this over the last 2 weeks in New Jersey. I put this into a video and then cut it at the last moment a couple of times now. Mysterious drones flying over New Jersey have residents and officials puzzled. I grew up in New Jersey, about 20 miles from New York City. There is something strange happening in the skies above New Jersey, and no one seems quite sure what to make of it. Not the governor, not the members of Congress, not the FBI. Well, that's disconcerting. What they know is that it started in mid-November. Dozens of drones have been spotted at night flying in at least 10 different counties across the state. U.S. Army base in North Morris County has already at least 11 sightings. Army officials said this week, several of which came in the Federal Aviation Administration moved to temporarily restrict drones from flying overhead. Speaking to House lawmakers on Monday, Robert Wheeler, the assistant director for the Bureau's Critical Incident Response Group, said that the FBI still did not know whether a specific individual was responsible for the flights or whether they were the work of a larger group. But you can call the FBI at this call at 1-800-FBI number or go to their TIPS hotline. It's disconcerting that the FBI doesn't know what's going on. Here is NewJersey.com. New Jersey military base had 11 confirmed mystery drone sightings, according to the Army. The first confirmed sighting at Picatinny, witnessed by a police or a security officer at the arsenal, was on November 13th, 5 days earlier than previously reported, Army officials said Monday. 7 other sightings remain unconfirmed, including one reported on Friday at the Military Research and Manufacturing Facility in Jefferson and Rockaway Township. Governor Murphy said that there were 49 reports of drone sightings statewide on Sunday. Some of those had turned out to be planes mistakenly identified as drones. There were 2 unconfirmed sightings, November 26th and December 2nd, 3 on December 4th, and 1 on December 6th. At Naval Weapon Stations Earl in Colts Neck, officials said that they were actively monitoring the drone sightings. So something is going on in New Jersey. Now, a New Jersey congressman was claiming that it was an Iranian mothership that had drones, multiple drones on this mothership that launched these into New Jersey. And the Pentagon is saying that Iranian mothership claim was not actually what happened. The Pentagon shot down a congressman's claim that an Iranian mothership is behind large drones spotted over New Jersey in recent weeks, while officials in the state are demanding stronger federal response and transparency in connection to the mysterious unexplained sightings. Despite statements to the contrary by the Pentagon, FBI, and Department of Homeland Security, this New Jersey congressman is doubling down, saying it could be the work of Iran. This is not the work of a backyard hobbyist, Congressman Jeff Van Drew claimed. Now, here's New York City, this is New Jersey, and he's the representative in the most southern part of New Jersey, District 2. Here he is talking about it. You're going to listen to him for just 1 minute.
Drones are flying to the United States airspace, coming in and out of international waters. This fact alone demands our attention, and we must investigate it no matter what. But these drones are also deliberately avoiding our radar and operating in uncontrolled airspace, indicating they are being expertly piloted. We know there's an Iranian drone ship that went missing from its port, and the timing of its disappearance is circumstantially consistent with the beginning of the appearance of these drones. These drones are reportedly the size of minivans. This is not the work of a backyard hobbyist. We know it is not a commercial entity, so we are only left with 2 possibilities. Either it is our government, or it is a foreign adversary. Yet the government has repeatedly said time and time again that these are not their drones. So we only are left with one option to believe. It's been almost a month, almost a full month since this started, and we're still being told everything is fine, even as officials admit they don't know exactly what these drones are.
Yeah, so that's really the trick. They don't know what they are, but it's not just necessarily those two choices. There could be a third choice that we just don't see, but it seems very suspect. And meanwhile, you see things like this. This is the US Helsinki Commission, new report, spotlight on the shadow war inside Russia's attacks on NATO territory. Since February 2022, Russia's attacks on North American and Europe have escalated. Read more about Russia's accelerating shadow war on NATO from the Commission, and these are all the places where there have been some kind of squirrely something that has gone wrong within the United States and Europe. And it could be the Russians, could be the Iranians, could be a hobbyist, but that seems weird if they have minivan-sized drones, like very large drones like that, and if it's coming from off the coast into the state, we just don't know. So let's talk about something a little bit more lighthearted as we wrap up. Gentleman Sydney says, as a German, I'll never understand how on earth a kid can walk on open street with a gun. The comment to that was, as a Swiss, I'll never understand why Germans think their lack of understanding is of any interest to Americans. And then Ryan Macbeth's comment to that was, as a football fan, the Detroit Lions are 12-1. You think I give a crap about what the Germans or the Swiss have to say right now? Which is kind of funny. And we're talking about American football, not soccer, which is weirdly named for a sport where they throw the ball that they run with it, but okay. But the Detroit Lions just a few years ago, this is a 21-22 season, were 3-13. Terrible record. And now they're 12-1. So generally speaking, Americans are thinking about things like that rather than big important events. Okay, Darth Putin, on this day in 1981, martial law was declared in Poland. The Soviet-backed government sent an armored division on holiday to suppress Soros-inspired Western political plot to end food queues. Okay, one last thing and we'll be done. Just had an amazing interview with a savage sage. If you don't know who that is, you want to hear this guy, please listen to the video, subscribe to his channel. He does excellent work. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes and the shares and the subscribes. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.